Do you ever wake up in the morning going over in your head something you said or did the night before and just kind of having that inner cringe, like, ugh, and you can't shake it? You try and push it down, you try and stuff it away, you maybe shake it out of your head or you get involved in other things. But every time you have a moment to yourself, it kind of comes back and you remember whatever your mind is telling you that you did that was stupid or said that was dumb and wondering what people think and all that torture that the mind does. I want to talk about what is going on when that happens and why it happens. So that happened to me this morning, hence my jumping on right now. Last night, I recorded an interview with a guest, a great guest that I was very excited to interview. But afterwards, almost immediately afterwards, I had this internal smackdown. And when I woke up this morning, those feelings were still in my body. I wish I had said this, or I wish I hadn't said that. What was going on there? Were you trying to be funny? What were you up to? All this self-critical stuff. I hope it doesn't sound stupid when it comes out. What does the guest think? Just craziness, right? Literally craziness in the mind. And as we talk about, the mind does do this. And as I talked about before, our egoic parts are so hyper attuned to everything that we say and do in a way that no one else is attuned to in any way. But even if they were, does it matter? So there's a lot of things I want to unpack about this, because after 30 minutes, probably into an hour of breath work, it literally took me that long to settle my body down. And of course, what came to me was the very obvious, oh, you forgot yourself. You forgot who you are. And it wasn't even necessarily that I forgot who I was in the interview. It was all the self-doubt and the fear and the shame and the worry, the paranoia. That was the forgetting myself, right? What does it mean when I say forgetting ourselves? I've talked about before, and you should know by now, that you are much more powerful than you will ever know. We're more powerful than we can even ever fathom. The structure of the universe is inside of us. We are source. We are the expression of God. Period. End of story. And we forget that because our ego gets involved. And I want to look good, and I want to make somebody laugh, and I want people to like me, and all the things that this sad, tiny little girl who's part of my inner world, grew up being conditioned to feel, is clawing her way out to say, but to do this and be that and get these people to like me and yada yada and be in the in crowd and all these things, whatever I was conditioned to feel growing up that caused me to build this part in my inner world. And many parts in our inner world may not even come directly from our own childhood, but from our ancestral history. There are parts that I'm carrying around that aren't mine, but I'm having to work them off because they're in my family line. So when we get caught up in that narrative of the mind that is paranoid and that's saying, oh my God, you did this wrong and you did that wrong, that in that moment, we have forgotten that we are source. We've forgotten who we are. That's all there is to it. And if I had not chosen to do breath work this morning, which I really didn't want to do, I wanted to get on with other things of my day, I would not have had an opportunity to remember myself. And it's not that I can do anything about how I behaved in my interview or things that I wish that I had done differently, or whether this person thinks X, Y, or Z about me or whatever. Those all things still exist. But I had a moment where I was able to come back into myself. And when you come back into yourself, you understand that you're dealing with a human body and you're dealing with a conditioned mind. And the ego parts come in and they go and they say stupid stuff and they do stupid stuff and they want to be liked, want to be funny, or whatever your parts want to do. They want to be the best. They want to win the business. They want to whatever. Those parts come in and they take over. And that's part of the game of being human. And so the level of calm that you can bring to yourself, not because you're running around trying to clean up what you did or try and make up a story in your head so that it feels different, or tell someone who will then tell you, oh, it wasn't that bad. No, it was fine. Like we do all that stuff to try and make ourselves feel better. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But none of that is necessary. And honestly, none of that is real, because the bottom line is that I am more powerful than I'll ever fathom. And so are you. And because I didn't show up in my power in that moment makes me human. It doesn't make me anything else. And it was an 1.5-hour interview. I showed up in my power for some of it. And then some of it, I probably got whatever it was, I don't know, swept away. And I forgot to look at my notes because I had reminded myself, human to human, heart to heart. That's what I'm going for. I'm going for heart-to-heart conversations, human-to-human conversations. And even I say in the trailer of this podcast that there is no hierarchy. We live in this ridiculous world where we think there's a hierarchy and we compare ourselves to other people all the time. And the reason that I do that and that I said that is because that's encoded in my conditioning, that I have a habit of comparing myself to other people. It's taken a long, long time to wrap my head around that and really get control of it. But sometimes the parts come in and they get all worked up and they do that anyway. Even if I start out with my absolute greatest intention, no matter how big, in quotes, the person I'm interviewing is, they're living out their destiny and I'm living out mine. And one is not better than the other. I hope this is helping as you listen to this, because I feel that it is so important that we realize that this disease of comparing and the amount to which we lose ourselves when we allow our egoic parts to go down that road and say we're not good enough, or we should be here and we're not there, and why don't I have whatever it is your thing is? Why don't I have X amount of money? Why don't I have X amount of clients? Why don't I have X amount of friends? Why don't I have this fame and fortune? Because that's not your soul's destiny. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. And if you drop into who you are, you will be able to hear intuitively very clearly what you are supposed to be doing. And it's not what Joe Schmo is doing. And it's not what, some superstar is doing. But when you hear what you're supposed to be doing and you stop outsourcing all of your energy and your power to being in crowds or to making other people happy or being liked or getting the accolades or fulfilling some fantasy that your ego has about where you should be in your life by now. And it could be any number of those things. And for me, I'm not entirely sure I can unpack right now everything that caused me to lose myself, both in that interview for moments and this morning. I know it caused me to lose myself, what I've discussed, but oftentimes you go back anyway and you're like, that wasn't a big deal. Why were you so worked up? And it's the parts inside you that get all worked up. Like, oh, maybe you made an ass of yourself. Oh, maybe. Shame has become such a big part of our inner worlds in our lives. Whenever we do something wrong or feel like we're publicly out in the world and having to say, oh my God, I made a mistake or whatever. Shame is really a direct reaction to losing that sense of yourself, remembering who you are and remembering why you're here, and that very grounding place that you can find inside you if you choose to do some breath work, or you choose to meditate, or you choose to go on a long walk, and you choose to do it for as long as it takes to remember who you are, which is really everything and nothing all at the same time. When I say remember who you are, I'm not saying, I'm amazing, I'm so powerful. Yes, you are, but we're more powerful than we'll ever understand. It's really not about that. It's about understanding that we are whole and sovereign in and of ourselves. And by being whole and sovereign, we are completely not separate, which means we don't stand out, good or bad. We are everything and we are nothing. It's the ability to really hold your nothingness at the same time that you can hold your everythingness, which I don't think that I've achieved that status, right? But that's really what we're going for. Because if you think about the nothingness part of it, We are like, what we do in this world is nothing. Like, no one's going to remember anything that anybody does. In 100 years from now, this body, this brain, this physicality, this meat suit dies, and everything that you did with it is forgotten. It's meaningless. 1,000 years from now, nothing. Nothing. No one will have any clue. So on the one hand, we're living this one time here in this physical earth, in this particular body, and we're wanting to create all the things and be the best and all that stuff. And it's really silly and meaningless because it goes nowhere. But on the other hand, to be here and to fulfill our karmic destiny and to get the most out of this time here, and we are so powerful. There's so much we could do if we got out of our own way. There's so much we can be if we accept who we are and what our soul's destiny is this time around and stop comparing it to other people's. And I realize that as I was feeling this way this morning, and even right after I got off that call, that I've been feeling this way a little bit over the last few days. And the reason is because I'm creating some new material, and I've committed to a big program to evolve my work in a particular way, and dealing with all of the parts of myself that don't want to be clear and want to pretend to be confused about what my message is and want to compare to other people, and I don't sound as good, and so all of the parts that want to compare themselves to other people and beat themselves up because I'm not nailing the message the way that I want, and the parts that literally get in the way for me of being clear. Because confusion is the ego's way of keeping you small. I mean, that's what it does. And I spend a lot of time confused, to be quite honest. I'm very confused a lot of the time. Now, my friend Victoria, who talks to all different entities and all kinds of stuff, will say there's a lot of reasons for confusion because there's a lot of energy around us. There's a lot of things happening around us that we can't see. And there's a lot more than just our ego trying to keep us down happening. But nonetheless, I realized that I was comparing myself to other people that are doing this thing that I'm doing, and it was causing me to get in my way. I knew that was happening, but I didn't know it was happening. So again, I talk about this all the time. Like, you might be intellectually aware of something, but it's not until you really sit for a moment and are like, oh, wait a minute, this is what I'm doing to myself. This is what's happening. I'm pretending to be someone else. I'm hoping to be like someone else, and I can't be someone else because I can only be me. And the person that I'm comparing myself to is amazing, and she's gonna knock it out of the park. I absolutely know it. And that's great. And it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not I'm gonna be great. It's just gonna be done differently because we have different styles and we're different people. So the more I allow my parts and my egoic mind to go to, oh, but she does this and she does it that way and she delivers it this way, and I try to mimic that, the worse off it's going to be. Because I have to be true to literally who I am as a presenter, who I am as a speaker, how I am. If you show up in the world trying to be someone else, even though that person might have a lot of great lessons to teach you, and there's pieces of things that you can learn from them, like, oh, I like that person does this, or I like that person does that, I want to try and bring that into my life. Like, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to recognize that you're going to do whatever that is in your own unique way. And if you try to be like someone else or do it the way that they do it because your mind is telling you, oh, that's more effective, or that's better, or that's right, and you don't bring your own authenticity to it, it's not going to work. The only way it's going to work is when you are authentic to who you're being. We can pick up, we can look at other people, and we can gain knowledge, and we can take parts of things that they're doing and say, I want to bring that part into my work or into my personal life, or try to emulate that quality in a way, but you have to bring yourself to it or it's not going to be authentic. And if it's not authentic, you're going to feel the way I felt this morning. Oh, I did something stupid. Oh, this sounds dumb. So-and-so is going to think yada, yada. That's just a sign that you were not authentic to yourself, that you forgot who you were, And that's okay, because that's the way that we are built. That's the problem with being human. It comes with this. So if you're being honest with yourself, this isn't the kind of things like, oh, I used to do that, but now I remember myself all the time. No, that's bullshit if anybody tells you that, right? This is a moment by moment, day by day battle to do the real work. When you notice your mind is just dragging you around and you say, wait a minute, I got to remember myself. I got to get back to source, to the source of who I am. And that can happen by doing some breath work is really a great way to do that. By doing a silent meditation, just burning your focus into your third center, really just thinking, just putting that focus on the third center and just relaxing it and relaxing it and relaxing it. Find the tension in what center is the tension living, and just putting all of your focus there and relaxing it. And just remember, you are you. You are only you. And that's all you're supposed to be. We're just here trying to be the best us that we can be. And you're not broken. You are exactly where you need to be in this moment, in this space of time, or else you wouldn't be here. And it is enough. It's more than enough. And the egoic parts are going to go and do what they're going to do. And they're going to want to be the best, and they're going to want to be this, and they're going to want to be included, and they're going to want to be seen, and they're going to be all these things. And that's just what they do. And it has nothing to do with how powerful you are and the meaning that you have in this life right now.